This is Pieter Bruegel the Elder's The Peasant Wedding from 1567. As you look closely at this vibrant scene, remember it's more than just a work of art. It's like one of history's most detailed documentary photographs, capturing life so vividly, except it was painted over 300 years before photography was invented. While nobles and kings commissioned portraits to highlight their wealth, Bruegel did something truly revolutionary. He used his brush like a camera to thoughtfully capture how everyday folks truly lived, worked, and celebrated. His work offers us a glimpse into their lives. Harvard art historian Joseph Corner describes Bruegel as an early ethnographer, someone who examines cultures through close observation. And that's exactly what we see here. Notice how this door is being used as a serving tray, carried by two men to feed the wedding guests. This isn't just a creative choice, it's evidence of how peasants found practical solutions with limited resources. Every object has its own story to tell. These ceramic jugs highlight the trade routes that brought goods to rural areas, adding a fascinating touch to the scene. The wooden bowls reflect local craft traditions, showcasing the community's artistry. Even the food served offers a glimpse into traditional peasant diets and festive customs, giving us a feeling of shared heritage. And that beautiful green cloth hanging behind the bride, it's probably the family's most treasured textile, brought out with love for this special occasion. But this painting captures more than just objects. It preserves entire social worlds. The seating arrangement reveals social structure. The bride sits beneath a paper crown, while guests are carefully arranged by status and relationship to the family. Notice how some guests are dressed more elegantly than others, like the man in the dark hat at the head of the table, who clearly has a higher status than the servers. The bagpipe players in the background aren't just there for entertainment. They're also preserving the musical traditions that were part of peasant celebrations. Bruegel illustrates how communities come together. In the wedding dance, we get a glimpse of the strong social networks that supported peasant life. These gatherings weren't just celebrations, they played a vital role in building family alliances, helping young people meet potential spouses, and strengthening the bonds within the community. Notice the diversity of ages, clothing styles, and musicians performing for dancers. This serves as anthropological documentation of how rural communities celebrate and sustain their social fabric. Bruegel didn't just capture weddings, he also documented a wide array of social gatherings. In children's games, he beautifully illustrated over 90 different games and activities, turning it into a charming visual encyclopedia of childhood. Folklorists still use it today to understand how children learn through play. Of course, peasant life wasn't all about festivities. Most days focused on survival, and Bruegel captured this reality beautifully. In The Harvesters, we get a glimpse of late summer grain cutting, the tough work that would nourish families through the winter. Look at the exhausted harvesters taking their meal break under the tree. One man has collapsed from fatigue. This is one of six paintings Bruegel made depicting the agricultural year, a visual calendar of rural life that shows both the dignity and hardship of peasant work. The painting captures the whole agricultural scene, from the hardworking workers in the front to the village and expansive fields reaching the horizon, showing how much human activity shaped the early modern landscape. Bruegel wasn't working alone on this documentary project. Artists like Peter Ertzen and Joachim Buchler contributed by creating detailed inventories of domestic life. This kitchen scene feels like stepping into a detailed catalog. Every pot, wooden spoon, and hanging piece of meat is depicted with careful detail. It's almost like you can see exactly how the food was prepared, stored, and preserved. Scholars have identified dozens of different tools and food varieties in these paintings, and archaeological excavations have shown that these painted inventories are accurate, confirming that they serve as valuable historical evidence of how people organized and used their domestic spaces. However, we should approach these images with a bit of caution. They aren't neutral photographs. Rather, they're paintings made for urban markets, often depicting rural life that city folks have moved away from or romanticized. Recognizing this helps us appreciate the context behind these artworks. Notice how tidy and nicely arranged everything appears. In reality, peasant houses were probably dirtier, more crowded, and less organized. These paintings give us a selective view of reality, showing what existed, but presented in its very best light. Yet the fundamental truth still holds. The spatial relationships, social structures, and core material culture offer authentic historical evidence. What makes Bruegel and his contemporaries extraordinary isn't just that they painted peasants, it's that they depicted them as if their lives mattered enough to be fully documented. These paintings capture a world in transition, giving us a glimpse into the moment when medieval communal life was giving way to early modern changes. They tell us not only about how people looked, but also about how they lived, worked, celebrated, and managed their daily lives. Long before photography, anthropology, or social history, these artists thoughtfully captured snapshots of everyday life, creating visual stories that have stood the test of time. Even after 500 years, we continue to find valuable lessons in what they chose to preserve.